Hi. First, let's synchronize audio and video. Oops, that did not work, but it doesn't matter. Today we're going to talk about filters, as in microphone filters. What else we have? Let's find some filters around. Oh, water filters, light filters. I'm using one right now. Audio frequency filters, whatever you call them. And finally, today we're going to talk about steady state stereo dipole filter. Two fully independent channels, quad core, channel A fully independent, channel B fully independent, and the middle stereo control section. This video will be more overall with some details to get you going with it once you get it. It's more like for people like me, for dummies. And then I'll break down into sections later on in different videos. Each section, the stereo control function, tips and tricks, the whole overall thing again. And there will also be a head-to-head video, stereo dipole and make noise Q-pass. And guess who will be the winner? It will be me, because I got both. Stay tuned, and there will be a lot more videos coming on the Dipole. This is just the first of its kind. It will be all broken down in details, in sections, in functions, tips and tricks, what you can do, because this thing is, I don't think I can describe it with words. It's not just a filter. It's 2 filters, it's 3 filters, it's 5 filters, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do stereo processing, mid-side processing, 2 different filters, 4 cores, 2 cores, and whatever else comes up in your mind. So stay tuned, and audio coming up. So this is the filter I was talking about, and no, it's not a water filter. It is the stereo dipole from SSF, Steady State Fate. It is a dual 2-pole 12 dB filter. 3 different types of filters: low pass, band pass, high pass. It is 2 completely independent filter. You can cut it like right in the middle. You can use a saw or anything. I won't be responsible for it though. Each filter has 2 peaks, and each filter has 2 outputs. To get the 2 peaks, you output of dipole. When using it as a standard filter, it's only the pole out. Then there is the dipole AB, where you get 4 peaks in mono. We will call these channels, actually they are channels, channel A, channel B. And then there is the master section in the middle. So when you cut it, you can go right in the middle of the cutoff and resonance, or you can leave them on one side of the pieces. Each channel, but we will talk strictly about one of the channels. They're both exactly the same. Has one audio input, has a drive, which is actually a really nice drive. Channel frequency control, channel resonance control. It has one filter cutoff frequency, CV. It's labeled as FMA or FMB, which can stand for frequency modulation, master cutoff controlling, or whatever you want to call it. This attenuator, actually, it's bipolar and controls the FM channel input. You have a resonance control input. It has its own attenuator, that's unipolar. You have spread without attenuator, and you have volt per octave. In the master section, you have the stereo frequency, which it does not really offset the channel cutoff, but it opens the band like wider, and it's too many combinations to be explained. And you also have resonance, which works similarly in correlation with the channel resonance. They both have stereo FM input and FM as in frequency, cutoff frequency control, and resonance input. The stereo and the channel FM levels, attenuator and attenuator, are like correlated. If you plug this into the stereo FM, they're summed together, and the channel FM control then inverts it because it's bipolar. If this is plugged into channel FM control, then the stereo FM control has no effect on it. It can be also in series or parallel, and this is a self-resonant filter. There is not really too many details to talk about. I think it is an oxymoron on itself, because you can see it as very complicated and complex, and you can see it as probably the easiest thing. It is a filter like I've never heard before. Not that it has its own sound and character. That's probably top of the line too, but the things you can do with this, you cannot possibly imagine. It can be 2 completely independent filters as two voices. It can be two peaks filters in stereo. It can be one 4 peaks filter in mono. It can be 4 peaks in stereo coming out of the 2 dipoles. And you can also do mid-side processing with 4 side channels and 1 middle channel, or 2 side channels, 1 middle channel. And that's basically roughly that. It has few tricks up its sleeve, with some tricks maybe which I will explain later in other videos or in this video later on. You can also get a 24 dB 4-pole filter out of it, but then you're coming out of the dipole to get that effect. I will explain it later how it works. And when coming out of the dipole, the main stereo cutoff, not it should be, that's whatever people prefer about it. I keep it around 9 to 10 o'clock for the channel filter to fully close. And past 11, I think it won't get any wider or brighter, but I usually keep it at around 9, 10, because if you go higher than that, you cannot fully close the channel filter. If you go a lot lower than that, the channel filter will not fully open either. This video is more for people like me, like for dummies, to actually get sound of it once they buy it. It can get pretty complex in some sense. To use it just as a standard filter, you plug in your audio, you have your audio out, and then let's take this out, controls or whatever you're doing at the time, and we already have solid going in. So this is what I was talking about. You can probably hear a little. Now it's fully closed. And we open again. Now it's fully closed. If you keep this lower somewhere by 9 or so, and you start opening up again, you see, it starts to open brighter to a point. Sweet spot is somewhere between 9 and 10 to fully close it, but also to get the full band out. Drive at its lowest, and once you start going up around 12, 1, 2, it gives a nice edge to a square wave. It sounds amazing. I've never heard something like this before. One thing I noticed is I own about 11 filters. I have the HH in here, I have 3 sisters, I have the multi-filter, I have the Reebok Catch series, I have the 4075, and guess what? I have Q-Pause. But this works amazing. What I wanted to say is the resonance. Dialing in resonance does not lose sub. I know some filters lose it, some of them compensate different ways. The 4075 compensates by driving it harder, but on this one I cannot really notice any sub loss. Even raising the stereo, it's still, the sub is still there, it just gets really squinky or whatever, that's a word even. Okay, now I will run a little sequence into it so we can hear how that sounds like. Now this is pole out, low pass. Let's get a square wave. Let's go back to the saw wave and go to band pass. And then go to high pass. These are just very short clips. They're not gonna really give you the full picture, but I hope it'll help somebody at least start off and make some noise with it. Let me stop this. From here on, I will show a little of the dipole out. It's gonna be 2 peaks in mono. Low pass, band pass. So you basically take the dipole out, you run your wave in, you can give it some resonance, and now the peaks will start depending on your topology of the filters. If you have first low pass, then band pass, but also of where spread is. Spread is a bipolar. And then once you start turning up, so you can hear the 2 peaks very clearly in here. It's right here. So that was mono. Now let me patch stereo 4 peaks out. And we already hear them. Let me just make sure I'm patched correctly. 2 stereo out. It works perfectly. We can add some resonance to the channels. We have low pass, band pass, high pass, band pass on the topologies, like some kind of random wave. And now when you start, let's spread the peaks even more. So add some reverb to it from clouds, and let's see what that does. You can control the peaks separately, 2 by 2, I mean 2 and 2, and then the master control of all 4 peaks. This thing is amazing. I have no words. I get too excited about it. Oh my god. So that is the 4 peaks out. Now if we put everything into low pass, you can still get 4 peaks out of all 4 low pass topology. It just gets that rich, nice stereo full sound. And you get the same out of dipole. AB is a little different, but it's just mono, all 4 combined together. Now the whole thing is off. Next, let's take everything now out. Let's take this out too. And let's come out of pole B, no audio in. And as I said, this is a self-resonant filter. It is amazing. In the beginning I did not mention, but these can be 2 separate VCOs. This can be 1 LFO, 1 VCO, or it can be also 2 separate LFOs. The combinations and the possibilities are amazing, and you cannot even imagine what you can do when you start flipping between different topologies while using it as self-resonant, as a VCO, or as an LFO. So let's make some weird noises, I guess. And let's start using channel A as an LFO to control channel B as a VCO. But now that does not end here. You can get dipole out too to control something else. Then you can start flipping between the 2 topologies on this channel to get even more weird, and also series or parallel. Let's start with controlling the channel frequency modulation. You start spreading the peaks from dipole out, you get even more complex stuff. This is very low, but let me add some of it. It can go way into sub-audio or way into audio range. I think it goes way above audio range. I think I've read it or heard it somewhere. But that's not it. Then you can start controlling things like coming out of dipole and going into stereo FM. And now you can go back to the channel FM level and get even more weird. And the topologies too. This is, I guess, self-patching. Self-resonance, but also self-patching. And this is basically a rough, not a review actually, an overview of this filter. I don't think there is anything comparable to it. Of course, there is QPass, which I also own. Pretty soon there will be a video of QPass and Stereo Dipole head-to-head, but QPass and Dipole are similar only in the description of a 4 peaks filter, and I think that's where it ends. Of course, there is other similarities. I exaggerate maybe a little, but for me, that's where it ends. This is eons ahead of QPass. Not just sound, but other things. QPass is only 4 peaks, but it's only one filter, not 2 of them. And the way you can get out of it, it's a little not as versatile as this. Because on this, per output, you have a choice of a filter topology or filter type. But that's not it. It's just too many things to explain. And this is not a QPass and Dipole video. It have nothing to do with that. It was just worth mentioning it. I'm planning to make few more videos to go into details per section or per function, and probably some more jam videos of it. I most likely left out unpurposely. I left out probably a lot of these things in this filter. If something comes up, I will write it down in the comments, or I will make just videos later in the future. Thank you all, and if you liked it, please subscribe and like us. There will be many more videos to come on the Stereo Dipole and also the head-to-head with the QPass video.